When couples argue, sometimes the pattern and the dynamic is very predictable and similar because it's the same thing that happens time and time again. The situation might be different, the context might be different, but the story is often the same. So when I work with couples, I don't need to know every single week of every argument that they've had that week. But I do look at the dynamic and I do look at the process and what's happening, what is the theme, what is the pattern. Sometimes I'll have a couple who come in, and this does happen quite frequently, where when they argue, one of them goes off. They might go off to the bedroom, close the door, shut down, withdraw, silence, and the other partner is left thinking, well, there you go, that's happened again. They don't care. We have an argument, you go into the room, you close off, you shut the door, I don't hear from you for hours, and I'm just left here by myself then to manage all these big feelings. And usually in that place, you might feel like you're left there with all the big feelings and your partner's just gone off and shut themselves away. But often in this process, the partner who has gone off, withdrawn and closed themselves away also have incredibly big feelings. But it may be that in their childhood experience, they were left alone to manage their feelings. If they weren't comforted and cared for and soothed when they were having big feelings, then a protective part comes in. And in order to stop you from feeling all those big feelings that are painful and lonely because you don't have anyone there with you, it's to close off and shut down. And that is the safest and most protective things to happen for you at that time. So of course then when we enter into a relationship dynamic, those child parts become very active at all different stages, but certainly when we're having an argument, we can become incredibly activated. And that is a way of coping and managing those big feelings. So the person who shuts down and closes off, it doesn't mean they're not experiencing feelings. They are, but that's how they're managing. And the person who's perhaps left in the living room or whatever, it's hard for them to reach out and come into connection. So it is important how you manage this together, because there are different ways of coming back into connections, that you don't just have that repeated dynamic of pain again and again and again. Because in doing that, what happens is the person who shut themselves away just reinforces the message that no one's here for me, no one cares, no one loves me, no one's going to comfort and soothe me, I'm by myself, I'm all alone, I need to do this on my own. So many messages that come up, and that is one of the ways of seeing what some of our childhood core beliefs are when we're in those moments. What are the same familiar thoughts and feelings and sensations that come up? Because that is very likely to be familiar from our childhood experience. So if you can see this in your own relationship and how this happens, comment, ask a question. I'm happy to answer any questions as well, by the way. Sometimes people do pose questions and I will answer them wherever I can. But this is a tough experience, and actually what we get to do in our relationships, which is one of the best things about relationships, is we get to have relational healing experiences. Because if we've had that pain and trauma through childhood of not being comforted and cared for and soothed when we've been really upset, experiencing big emotions, we've actually felt very lonely and isolated, we get to have a different experience with our partner. We get to slowly and gradually in small steps come into connection and have a different experience and allow ourselves and our younger selves to be healed through that. And it isn't easy, it takes time, it takes a lot of vulnerability, and it is something that can be consistently worked on so that you get to heal through your relationship and have that experience that you didn't have but you really should have had, and you get to have it now.